So our agenda is first welcome and introduction, and our first opening will be done by Angeline Munzara, the S4T Project Model Manager, and we have two presenters. First is Mudidasa Sureskumar, or Suresh. He is the S4T facilitator from World Vision Sri Lanka, and then Prakash Tiwari, the Program Manager Resilience from Nepal. And then at the end of the both presentation, we will have discussion, will be facilitated by David. So the purpose of the webinar is to provide the workshop participants with the opportunity to hear from S4T practitioners currently implementing World Vision's S4T. The panel presentation will focus on strategies for inclusion, the challenges and lesson learned, also advice for you, all the S4T practitioners who implement the inclusive S4T program. So this is the introduction for our presenter now. First is Angeline Munzara. We are really glad to have you, Angie, in our first webinar. Angie is the Senior External Engagement Advisor and S4T Manager from the Global Center Livelihood. You can see her profile in the presentation, the PPT. And then we have Mudidasa Sureskumar from World Vision Sri Lanka. He has been 15 years working in humanitarian agencies. And also we have Prakash Tiwari, the Resilience Manager at World Vision World Vision Nepal. He has been working in the S4T, in LVCD, and other livelihood program in Nepal. Please use the chat box to ask questions, share reflection whilst we hear from our presenters. So at the end of the presentation, David will read your questions, and we will use these questions to guide the discussion at the end of each presentation. So without further ado, please welcome Prakash to start with our first presentation. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Namaste from Nepal. So it's afternoon here, about 3 p.m. As Levina mentioned, I'm Prakash Tiwari, and I'm supporting a couple of project models in World Vision International Nepal. So you can see the picture if you are really looking at the slides. That's the way the S4T actually meetings runs in Nepal. So this is a picture of S4T Women's Group in one of the remote district of Nepal, which is called Jumla. Can you please go to the next slide? So yeah, next slide please. So I will be willing to also share something about our Agricultural and Economic Development Program. Basically, this technical program has two key project models. One is Global Value Chain Development, and the other one is Civic Transformation. So we have these two project models as core intervention in Agricultural and Economic Development Program being implemented by World Vision International Nepal. Next slide, please. Yeah, so next slide. Yeah, so as we all know, in ED program, with the vision of enabling parents to provide welfare vision, that's our vision, and then we are really focusing to the most vulnerable families, so that they, with our intervention and with our support, we work together with them so that they can meet the basic needs of their children and coping with the economic shock that they may face. Yeah, next slide, please. So we really want to see the changes to the targeted households. We want to see the change in terms of income, and also to those families, those rural households who are dependent on farming. We want them to also change their farming practices from subsistence to semi-commercial levels within this strategy period, which is up to 2021. And then we also are willing to help them to be better able to manage financial or economic management at their household level. And we also want some behavior change to those families, on those families in terms of saving and managing expenditure. Next slide, please. So if we will be sharing our targets, so we are really willing to work with uh, 14,000 households, and then this will be they will be like organized in 700 producer scope. So far we have been able to reach the target in organizing them into producer scope. And also let me also add that when we say the 14,000 households or 700 producer group, and because we are also implementing S4T, half of the families, they are also part of the producer group, and they also have this S4T group, but there are also S4T group which are not part of the producers group. So we have a mixed approach that we are taking. And then in total, we will be reaching to 70,000 people to help them to with their better livelihood options. Next slide, please. Can you please go to the next slide? Hi, Mary. Hi, Mary. Can you hear me? Okay. So yeah. Let me, yeah. So this is one other, I think, different thing in this national office. Probably we are one national office who is required to work through local NGOs to implement the project, not as a partnership as an opportunity, but it's a legal requirement in Nepal for any international agencies to implement the project, that you have to implement through a local NGO which is registered in Nepal itself. So why I'm saying this? This has also impact in terms of the designing of the project, particularly setting up the project implementation team. If I say that in every NGO that we implement, that is we have one NGO in a district to implement that one technical project in that district. So they will be having one project coordinator, because we have this LBCD project model. They will be also having a couple of market coordinators. Then they will be having finance officers, meals for monitoring and evaluation, then field facilitator for S4T, and then we will be also having savings group field officer. So that is the structure in the NGO who is actually implementing the project, and we will be having a field specialist in our zonal offices. Please, next slide, please. So if I talk about the reach in relation to the S4T, we have been able to establish 243 S4T groups till this period of time, and then the total members that we have reached is 5,015. So can you please go to the next slide? So this was this is a picture with Dave, and then we had this S4T training, and then after this talk, then we actually started this program to roll out in different districts. Next slide, please. So let me also share some of our experiences in terms of how we can be better inclusive in terms of including people from different groups, particularly the vulnerable groups. So one of our experience has been to have to reach to those marginalized groups, particularly women and people with disabilities as well. So targeting the community in the beginning, like if you are really seeing this particular cluster which is having let's say more number of people where you have more vulnerable households, and then rather than directly going to the particular households, you actually you may also want to target the community as a whole in terms of sensitizing them why we are doing S4T intervention in this particular area, and what is your target. So as a part of your strategy to convince the other community members to actually support your program, that's one strategy that you may want to take. And then also, if your communication will be just like we will be starting the S4T, which will be helping you, or we will be working with you to have good savings behavior or this kind of thing that S4T will be primarily bringing. Uh, you may also want to add some of the tailored intervention, like being engaged in here and showing the future as you will be working, as you will be engaged in this S4T groups, what changes or what kind of future you could actually see, what changes you can actually envision on yourself. So this kind of messaging, if can be built from the beginning, there will be more attraction to the program. And also location, because in Nepal, if you know the map of Nepal, it is mostly mountainous, and then so the geographical location in those area is a challenge. So you have a cluster of, let's say, 20 households in this particular geographical location, and then you will be needing to walk, let's say, 15-20 minutes again on the of hills, and then there will be additional 10 households. So this kind of diverse clusters of very smaller number of households will be there. So in that context, so the location that you choose for the S4T meeting is really critical for those people to participate, because if you're really targeting women, then the meeting time is just, let's say, in the morning. So they also have to do their household chores, and then the distance and this kind of thing will be a challenge. So if you also consider that part, that will be helpful. And also, if you're really willing to bring the excluded people or really vulnerable people, then this is a question for us. If if you want to include them in the program, and then can you also introduce some special package for those households that is really helping them to actually enhance or actually start some economic engagement activities for those households. So this will be a tailored intervention, and then you can actually design the project in that way, so that you can also include those people with some, let's say, additional support. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay. So in relation to the our experience in terms of having a separate or a specific group or mixed group. So we have both kinds of groups that we have been working, and then it has, let's say, you can see it from two perspectives. So mixed group, like particularly for those projects, if you have a larger number of people or the households to reach, then it will be easier for that type of project to have a mixed group approach, because you will be easily reaching to the required number of households or the required number of groups. And then also this mixed group is also like our experience has been, this is also helpful in the communities where uh, people are really willing to be in these sporty groups, or majority of the people if are really willing to be part of this group. So in that context, you may want to have a mixed group approach, establishing mixed sporty groups. And also, if you really want to target some specific groups, so particularly women, that has been our experience. So you may want to establish women only S4T group as well. So in that context, some additional benefits will be, so you will be able to communicate and convey some of the messages, and then you maybe this may not be true in other countries, but in terms of the savings or like kind of, let's say, trust in these kind of community-based groups, so women-only group has been more effective. So that is our general experience, not only with the S4T group, but those producers group where only females are the members, so they will be having more like disciplines, and then also they will be having an environment of trusting each other. So that is another experience that we have with S4T group as well. Can you please go to the next slide? So in terms of being more like our experiences in terms of being more inclusive, or like having equitable participation, or the different group of people coming together in a sporty group. If there is a, let's say, we also have a caste system. I'm not sure if this will be also common in other national offices. When I say caste system, then you have a culture of like having this group of people are of a higher caste, and this group of people are regarded as lower caste people. So in that particular context, you may want to have the caste specific, or this group specific S4T group. Like this S4T group is only having this particular type of group members in this S4T group, because they have common cultures, and then they will be also feeling comfortable to work with each other rather than in mixed group. And then in that context, if you are really intentional to reach to this type of people, homogeneous members or similar type of members will be, I think, more effective. And then we are also like experiencing, like in some of the clusters, because we also work with this specific caste group, and then there were also interest from other households who were actually not belonging to that particular caste to be part of this S4T group. So we are now discussing if, when they do this first cycle, and then before starting their next cycle, then this will be a topic to this group, homogeneous members group, to actually discuss this, and if they are willing to invite other people, then with that, can that be more effective? Because this will also help them to be linked with other groups, household, other type of people, or other type of households in that community, and work together for the economic benefits. So that has been our discussion until this point of time. And next slide, please. So in our experiences, for those people with special needs, for example, people with different abilities, PWD. So what kind of experience that we have been able to like observe in community is, if as I said in the beginning, if we introduce S4T thinking from like we want to change this behavior in the community, then we have to actually reach to the whole community in the beginning. And then if we will be able to convince the let's say some of the influential people in the community, maybe some local leaders, or like those people who are really respected in this community, then, and if we will be like disseminating the message of inclusion from those people, that is also helpful. So and then in the group itself, if you are actually working with other people, like if we talk about PWD members in this particular S4T, then if you are actually, if S4T facilitator is actually working with other members in terms of let's say extending more support, and then this will ultimately help you to have more people with disability to be in the leadership position later on. So that is how we have been experiencing. Like for example, we have a couple of groups, and where we have mixed group, like there are people who cannot see, the blind people, like there are 19 people in this group, and then 10 of the people are like with either of kind of disability. And then in the group meeting, the other member which is very near to this member's house, then will be helping him or her actually to come to the meeting. And then so this kind of positive perception, if you will be able to build in the beginning of the program, that is really helpful to have more people from this diverse background. So and then the cooperation among the members can also be like more if this kind of facilitation is there. And then next slide. Can you go to the next slide, please? So and then if we talk about the extra support, particularly we have experienced this to have more number of female members in S4T group. If I count the total, 80% of the total members are female in our record. So I think the S4T this intervention should be tailored with other economic interventions as well. Like for example, to work with more number of females in S4T group, one of the good practice that we have experienced is having market literacy classes for those women. And then this is actually helping us from two angles. One, because uh, uh, some of the members, the female members in the producers group are also the member of S4T group. And then if you are actually aiming to target these women for the market literacy class, they will be having their like increased voice in the producer group, and also they will be seeing this S4T group as additional learning platform. So from both angle, you can actually have a good impact to the female beneficiaries. So with the disabled people, like the blind people, the white cane, this kind of extra material, if you will be support, like if people that cannot work, and if it is flat land, and then you can actually support them with some of the like wheelchairs or this kind of thing. If you are really intentional, the cost will be little higher, and then you may also want to like work with or take the experience from other organizations. Like we have this disabled people organization at cluster and district level, so you may also want to talk with them if you want to include more number of disabled people in S4T group. So that will be also helpful. Can you also go to the next slide, please? So I think I also like taught this in my last slide. So yeah, and then let me also explain this the most vulnerable families targeting approach that World Vision International Nepal has been following. So we have a category of the people, like when we want to be intentional, we should be having some parameters. So we have four dimensions that we consider when we say vulnerable people. That is inability to meet basic needs, and social exclusion, deprivation, and then vulnerability to disaster. So, and for these four dimensions, we have subcategories. Then, for example, in terms of basic needs, you have food insecurity in consideration. So this kind of, and then you actually, based on the assessment that you have, then you try to target those people with who has more vulnerability indicators in the assessment. So this actually can help you to filter among the households that you are actually working in the community, and also like tailor these households with some additional intervention that they need. So this kind of practice that we have been also practicing, which is helping us to reach to more and more of vulnerable people. Can you please go to the next slide? So as I said, this S4T intervention, it it should be tailored, and then also like here. When we go to the community in the beginning, we definitely share the S4T messages, but also we have the expenditure management component built into that, and then the message will be having a good saving behavior. Also, the expenditure management, like this kind of change behavior that we would like to see. So this kind of message. Also, like this, as I said, the approach is S4T not as a stand-alone intervention in that particular community. You have other ED intervention that you are tailoring. So this has been effective so far for us. So our experience is if you have like S4T intervention along with other ED intervention that is more effective. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah, so I think this was the end of my slide. Thank you. And then, yeah, I think it is time for discussion now, or are we going to discuss at the end? Mary?
Thank you. Thank you, Prakash. So we'll have another presentation first, and we can have the question and answer after both presentations. Thank you, Prakash. Such a really great, inspiring S4T program that you have in Nepal. So just a reminder for all of you, please use the chat box to ask questions, share reflection whilst we hear from our presenters, and we will use these questions to guide the discussion at the end of the presentation. So we go next to you, Suresh. You have 15 minutes to present. Thank you.
Yes. Greeting from Sri Lanka, all of you. In first slide, we put Gender and Disability Inclusive Economic Development Project. This is our project. We are going to implement that part in especially for the people who have the disabilities and WHHs. It means that women-headed families. So this is a project, especially in northeastern part of Sri Lanka. Only we are implementing this S4T so far. So can you go please next few slides? Yeah, this is one of the S4T model. We almost it's almost finished 1 year. Still not share out. Still, this coming month that S4T will be share out. We got the nice picture with our colleague and donors. Can you go next slides? So in first slides, before previous slides mentions why S4T introduced, why need S4T in global. So for that, we mentions first better outcomes for child well-being. That is main reason for this introducing S4T, and also better alignment with our livelihood sector approach, because of that our livelihood approach need saving habits as well to sustain our livelihood mechanisms. Third one is better alignment with our promise 2030 partnership strategy. That also very important part of the thing in S4T in future. Last one is it's linked to the stakeholder world campaign. It's mentioned like a better reporting mechanism about that saving from transformation. So we have a these 4 components are influencing the S4T stabilization in globally. So could you go please the next slide, please? So we put like characteristics of S4T. It's under this slide because of another saving clubs or another saving groups. They that functioning very differently. There is no inclusions. There is no any specific things to included. So this in first we put opportunities for all. It means that PWD, women-headed families, and also men. Last one is ordinary people also can join in S4T. That's we put an opportunity for all. Second one is operational guidelines. This S4T had a specific highlights, especially for the field guide. It's guide all the things how to operate the S4T, how to go by steps. Everything is included in the field guide. Third one is a new minimum standard and log frame. That also very powerful to operate the S4T. Last one is, as I earlier mentioned, the better reporting mechanism and the standards. It means that we contribute and we monitored and everything. It should be linked with the global S4T saving system. Could you go for next slide, please? This also one of the format. It's shortly highlighted S4T pathway of change, how it's changed. First, here it's mentions about goal. The goal is denied that increased economic capacity of parents and caregivers to provide well-being for their children. It's also the ultimate goal of S4T. And also second level, we highlighted like this, household level change. Under this household level, improved food and security and nutrition as well. Second one is increased household resilience to shocks and stress. Third one is established income, diversity and security. Last one is increased hope for the future. This also highlighted in the household level change. And also the third one is we mentioned like that capacity, access, productivity, household influence also. The change level we are expecting this in through these S4T interventions. This is the pathway. The action, research, and everything is highlighted. So could you go for the next slide, please? This is the process before the saving, before the S4T interventions. We held 3 meetings. We mentioned like this: meeting A, meeting B, and meeting C. Meeting A, that they gain the permission and support to the key community leaders. The objective of meeting to introduce world vision, and this is mentioned now iLive project, because of iLive mean inclusive livelihood projects. So this is first time we had a public gathering with the government stakeholders. We introduce our project models and S4T as well with the community, government stakeholders and village leaders as well. In this meeting, especially it's highlighted. Second, meeting B is public gathering and program work. That this meeting goal is up for this. Actually, that we are generating that interest of community and also the stakeholders. Rather than the stakeholders, we mainly focus the community interest who are coming for this S4T and with the interest and their ability, how to contribute their saving and everything. It's in S4T. How so far it's a pulse. We seem to pulse in this meeting. B. The last one is we provide detailed description how to S4T works, how the mechanism for S4T and everything is we delivered in meeting C. It's nearly we formed like we can identify the actual beneficiary of S4T in this meeting C. This is a process we do before starting S4T. So can you go for next slide, please?
Suresh, I'm sorry, just to remind you, we only have 5 minutes more for your presentation. I can see like lots of presentation. Maybe please focus on the inclusive S4T program that you did in your iLife project.
Okay, I got it. This is we put in accessibility and marginalized, because of in our project we mainly focus the inclusion. So we mentioned how we got the inclusion in our S4T. First one, we increase the intellectual support to PW through the leadership training program. We have conducted certain leadership program to bring out of box that particular PWDs. Second one is provide reasonable accommodations. This is the documents in our, especially in our project. It's mentioned the transportation, accommodations, and also the user-friendly venue for the S4T activities and training, because of some different kind of PWDs come for the S4T. So therefore, we provide this kind of accommodations. So the third one is conduct awareness program through the DPOs, especially for the disabled person organization in our district level. They form divisional level, they are functioning. So through them, we are conducting some awareness programs to include more inclusive person in our S4T. That is workout, because of they know that who are the disabled person, their divisions, they registered under their organization. This is also one of the strategy. Next one is plan to support assistive devices in future with other NGOs. In our project, we have a small components to support for some this kind of devices, and also there is another NGOs to link with their abilities and need some support, further support with some referral mechanism with the other NGOs. Another one is provide opportunity to producers group. It's also that especially in our areas, producers group also functioning in the certain areas with some same beneficiaries. So this is also one of the opportunity to get the benefit from producer side. Last one is exposure visitor and knowledge sharing, also support for this marginalized group to come out of box. This is this slides we mentioned about that our S4T modules. The pictures highlighted. I think you may all know Mr. Holinday. He's the person who trained us. That's why we put the slides. There is a modules 1 to 9 for this field guide. So skip this and can you go for the next slides? So this is the situation in our S4T. Overall, 60 S4T is functioning in our iLive project. Now only that our national office recognized, and in future they are going to implement in new S4T in all the AP and ADP areas. So this is the situation so far in our project. So can you go for the next slide? So we are giving some sort of loan. The purpose here we mentioned mushroom cuts, groundnut production, gum gardening, highland crops, poultry, goat rearing, small business, medical, and education. This kind of purpose we are giving microcredit or loan from that particular 40 groups with a small interest. The comparison of separate versus mixed, as Prakash mentions, the mixed group are functioning very well, effectively, rather than the separate groups. Because of the mixed groups, they know each of them, and the men and women can support each other. So this work out. Mixed group are their own saving habit and money management as well, so, rather than the single groups. I already mentioned support each other within the groups through the like volunteer works like this also taken place. Next one is PW men and women are actively take part in the mixed groups because of the understanding and helping mind in mixed groups. The separate group we mentioned like that, they focus on saving rather than the social activities. And also we are working with the Muslim community. They also willing to form a separate groups. And the last one is men groups function very well in general compared to the mixed groups and women groups. So can you go for the next slide, please? So far we face the following challenges. Face some difficulty to gather relevant government officials for the meeting A in start. This is mentioned in our meeting A-B process. So this is in general in some areas. They say they are very busy like that. So we put a suitable time and we slightly change these challenges. So face some difficulty to get a meeting in seasonal time. These also taken place because of most of them are farmers. They are doing the cultivations. So the seasonal will occur 3 4 times here. So this also some difficult malpractice of previous saving group by led by another NGOs or somebody in that past. This also challenges for initiation or starting the new groups. Facing challenges from the microfinance institution to actively involve in members in S4T. This also because of in Sri Lanka context, the microfinance influence is very high, and they influence, they use women, especially women's influence, and they get a target. So this also earlier we faced some difficulties. Now gradually we reduce these challenges. So next one is few family members also did not interested to send women PWDs because of the cultural barriers and everything. They feel like that the women PWDs, if they send the community or that men society will be harassed or will be teased or some thought there. Next one, earlier stage, some community leaders, volunteers also not fully interested to include PWs in S4T because of the mind setup almost fit. They are not eligible to generate income. So such kind of mentality establish their mind. Though those also now we are reducing by some awareness changes and some activities. Last one is face some difficulties in World Vision TP area that it mentions we are while we are starting in our project we have two models, S4T models. There's also the normal model in that saving clubs. That also that people thought the different model, and that also earlier we faced. Now in that from this year that our national officer also recognized the S4T, and they are willing to implement in another AP and ADP areas as well. Could you go for the next slide, please? So we used some strategies for increase the inclusions. We use especially for the DPOs. We are aware of iLife goals, aim including program rollout, where PWD can engage, such kind of trick we use, and also having better communication with these DPOs. Because of the DPOs mobilize the PWDs because they are the ultimate goal owner for the DPO, goal owner for the PWDs in that particular division. So they know who is the disabled person, who is coming, who is registering, and everything. They have the records. So we mobilize the PWD persons through the DPO. PW led led awareness program also we run from such kind of S4T forum theater, and also we influence these activities. Basic inclusion criteria also we formed, and we when we identify the groups, we develop the criteria, and we gather the PWD persons through this. S4T attendance, it's shared, especially for this. If they included in a PWD person in the S4T, we regularly monitoring the attendance. If they drop out, we will make a special consideration why they dropped, and then we bring them back to S4T. So this also we practice. Exposure visit, I earlier mentioned that this also supported to strengthen the group and bring out them from the outer box. So special consideration should be made for the involvement of men. Rather than that women involvement, men also very low. So we are doing some awareness also for the men to include in our S4T. Monthly plan meeting. This also we monitored each S4T groups, and with some mechanism to include more inclusive and avoid the dropout rates as well. Family members can participate instead of this is we put like that. So if someone PWD who can contribute their share.
Suresh, are you there?
Yes.
Sorry, we lost you, Suresh.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Okay, I think this is the last slide for Suresh,
Yes,
so you
yes,
can cover it till the end.
Yeah, yeah. Last two
For
family members.
sharing us another. You have such impressive S4T program, so thank you for sharing with us.
Okay, thank you. If you have any clarification or questions,
we'll just move to the third presenter. So we have Angeline Munzara right now with us. We are so lucky to have Angie because she's really busy, but we are really glad that she can join us for our first webinar. So she would like to welcome and say closing for both to reinforce all the messages on how important inclusion in our S4T program.
Thank you. Thank you. If you have any clarification for the participation side, so they can chat with the chat box and we can answer.
Okay. Thank you, Suresh.
Thank you.
Over to you, Angie.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mary. A very good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are across the globe. I've already been introduced, so I sent you my greetings. I can hear a noise. Someone's mic is not muted. Good luck. Can you please mute your mic?
Let me try.
Mary, is it possible to? Yeah, okay. Thanks a lot. So I sent you my greetings. I've already been introduced, but it just gives me great pleasure to see all of you enrolled to the e-workshop that is currently ongoing. And many thanks to World Vision Nepal and World Vision Sri Lanka for embarking on an S4T journey and also agreeing to share their experiences on realigning savings for transformation from village saving and lending groups, and ensuring that no one is left behind in the process, inclusion of those who are usually, left behind. We have been talking about the livelihood sector approach and also how it contributes to the wider partnership strategy, which also, looks at our contribution to the post-2030 agenda on sustainable development goals, with an aspect of ensuring that no one is left behind when we are achieving, sustainable development goals to end, child poverty, to promote resilient livelihoods and ensuring that families and caregivers are able to provide well for their children and have access to nutritious food all year round. S4T is one of the livelihood sector core project models, and as an approach which demonstrates evidence of impact contributing to child well-being. So it has been tried and tested to see how this approach is actually, contributing to child well-being if aligned intentionally to our promise 2030. So moving forward, the success of savings for transformation groups is going to be measured beyond the number of groups or the amount of savings made, but looking at the impact, the change to the well-being of the children beyond numbers. How do we see savings contributing to reducing exposure of children against early child marriage, or reducing exposure to child labor that is arising out of extreme poverty, or reducing cases of sexual exploitation where girl children are vulnerable to exploitation because their parents or caregivers are not able to provide well for them. So the minimum standards developed actually help us to align to the partnership objectives of delivering child well-being, especially for the most vulnerable children and those in fragile contexts, because we do not want to leave anyone behind, including people living with disabilities. We want to carry everyone along with this good approach so that we can make a difference in their lives. So alignment is more than branding on paper. Last year, we've just been, talking a lot about, realignment and moving from village saving and lending groups to S4T, which I really want to applaud a number of field officers for taking a step to restart, the rebranding in terms of communication. But we want to go beyond branding on paper, ensuring that all the minimum standards are actually met to qualify it for, savings for transformation. And that is why it is important for all of us to go through the S4T online orientation to understand the why behind S4T. And I'm glad that in the previous presentation, some of the key objectives were outlined in terms of aligning to our partnership strategy and the issue of reporting around ensuring that quality data is inputted into, Servix. We developed an online orientation to help us do that so that we are able to report on our contributions on child well-being for thought leadership. And when we're looking at, profiling our work on savings, what is really required is evidence of impact in terms of to what extent have we meaningfully made contributions or changes to the lives of children and their families. And, the e-workshop that is currently going on helps us to have a better understanding, of the process of realignment to S4T. So with these few remarks, I'm very pleased to have you all on the call, and I do wish you the best throughout the course, and hoping and praying that everyone who is enrolled will make it to the end and get your certificates, and together we'll learn together and journey along in this implementation of S4T. And I'm also here, to provide support from time to time, as we learn together, and I'm continuously looking at best practices where we can identify opportunities externally to demonstrate leadership and profile evidence of impact. And maybe I could just take an opportunity to introduce a webinar that is going to be upcoming on the 21st of February. World Vision Sierra Leone, together with the Illinois University, have conducted a research on women rising and how savings for transformation groups are actually empowering disenfranchised women and contributing to dietary diversity. So you will see an invitation in your inbox, and I'm encouraging you all to attend and participate and learn from World Vision Sierra Leone on the research findings about the power of savings groups in empowering disenfranchised women in Sierra Leone. So thank you so much for joining us today, and I wish you all the best throughout the e-workshop. Thank you.
Just like for your information, Angie is very committed to support us in the S4T workshop. So she will join us, and as you can see, she already have provided some feedback into our discussion forum. And if there is any questions, I will go to Angie to provide feedback into our e-workshop. So thank you very much for your commitment to support our S4T e-workshop participants, Angie. So I'm worried because we already finished our time. I hope you don't mind to stay for another 5 to 10 minutes for the question and answer. Because we started late because of the noises. So I hope you don't mind. So over to you, David.
Thank you so much, Larina, and greetings to us all. So yes, we have just about 5 questions that we'll just quickly go through. The first question was from Lovemore to Prakash, who presented on Gender and Disability Inclusive Economic Development Project in Sri Lanka. So the first question, Prakash, was to say, where the caste system does not exist, can the different S4T groups consider different classes of wealth status? For instance, extremely poor, the moderately poor. So yes, do you want to respond to that, Prakash?
Yeah, yes. Let me share our experiences. I have also tried to do some text on the chat box itself for those questions. I was able to do that for 3 questions. So in relation to the poor people, I think it may work. The one challenge you may want to consider is if these people also share the common culture. because this will be one of the important factor, because if they share the common culture in the communities that we work, that is actually helpful to have the trust among themselves. If that can be resolved, I think you may also want to target from that perspective. Yeah.
Oh, great. Thank you, Prakash. I've seen you have already posted your responses in the chat box there, and I think that actually expedites the process in terms of our time. So let me probably go to the fourth question. That was from Haron, asking Suresh. Yes. So Haron was asking about S4T groups in a fragile context. And he was asking in line with, he wasn't sure that in such a fragile context, how can S4T groups operate given the limited resources and just the uncertainty as well that is in a fragile context. So yes, Suresh, I'm not sure if your context is really the fragile context, or do you want to attempt that?
Hello?
Yes, Suresh, we can hear you.
Yeah, actually, I couldn't follow your questions. Could you repeat again, please, David?
Okay, so yes, Aaron was asking about a fragile context. I'm not sure if your context is quite fragile to say, but he was asking how we can support S4T groups in fragile context, considering the limited resources and also that risk of uncertainty, especially in refugee camps.
Yeah, that because of in now our context now it's refugee camp and everything is now slightly over. Therefore, now we are traveling like in development field. So still we didn't have any experience to implement in IDP camps or refugee camps. So in that case, in the before. Last month we faced some sort of difficulties by the flooding in northern part of Sri Lanka. That means that natural disaster only. In that case, we have some delay process of having meeting and regular saving like that only we face so far.
Okay, great. So I think that question also goes to with the last one, but it's almost to all the presenters and even the experts that we have in the group. It speaks into contexts where there is hyperinflation, which can easily erode all the savings of savings groups members. So the question is, how best do we make S4T work in those contexts? So yes, maybe to the expert panel, if we could speak into those contexts which are fragile, like refugee camps, but also this hyperinflationary context. Yes, any leads would like to take that?
Hi, David. Angie here speaking. I would like to refer participants to the fact and answer question sheet on S4T. We tried by all means to, to give directives in terms of how do you adapt S4T to different contexts, be it in Muslim context or in fragile context. So we know that in fragile context, you need to adapt, to the context. And when you're talking about inflation, I have heard quite a lot about this challenge. And what some groups are actually doing is, to encourage not keeping money when you borrow, but invest in assets that do not, deplete its value very fast. So you need to look at the context and how best you can innovate. And by the way, innovation is part of the partnership strategy. 80% we are supposed to follow the project model, but the 20% is left for innovative approaches to see how this works within, the different contexts. If you want to learn more, I think what I can do is to share the results of a positive deviance study that was done by World Vision Somalia, SOMREP. I think they are very good findings there in terms of how do you adapt to savings to transformation groups to fragile context in a way that will actually bring value. So perhaps, Mary, I sent you a link to the participant study, and then you can circulate so that the participants can read it through and learn more about adaptation in this context.
Thanks, Haji.
Questions that we had. Lerina, I'm not sure in the interest of our time, you want to open up for more questions?
That's all for now. Thank you. Because we run out of time, so I would like to thank you very much to our three presenters, for Suresh, Prakash, and Angie, for sharing your amazing experience from your S4T program, and also to all our S4T workshop participants. Thank you for your presence. I hope this webinar is useful and inspire you, gives you more ideas to make sure your S4T program is inclusive. So after this meeting, Mary will share with us the presentation, the recording, and also we also have added a forum right under the webinar link in this week's session. So we'll use that forum to continue the conversation. So please post if you still have any questions or reflection from today's webinar. Please share it in the forum that we have provided. I think that's all for you for now. Again, thank you very much to stay extra time. I wish you all the best, and I'm looking forward to see you online in our e-workshop. Thank you.